Ali termina su grado en física por la Universidad de Valencia en 2018, máster en física teórica por la Universidad de Sarajevo en 2019 y miembro del grupo de investigación SAMUFIS de la Universidad de Sarajevo, con quienes ha publicado un trabajo teórico sobre el formalismo temático de la interacción luz-materia. Fue investigador predoctoral en la Universidad de Salamanca. Su investigación se centra en entender formalmente procesos magnéticos en materiales de dos dimensiones. Junto a la investigación, ha realizado labores de divulgación científica en institutos de educación secundaria y en instituciones universitarias a través de la plataforma InnoCampus de la Universidad de Valencia. Además, ha terminado estudios de piano, trabajado como viola titular en la Orquesta de Jóvenes de la provincia de Alicante y sido profesor de física en la Escuela Internacional Richmond Park School, cuyos proyectos con estudiantes han sido premiados en la Feria Internacional de Ciencias BOSEPO, realizada anualmente en Sarajevo, Bosnia y Herzegovina. Ali, cuando quiera.
Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, mi presentación es un poco personal. Voy a comentar unas reflexiones sobre unas vivencias que tuve cuando me fui a trabajar a Sarajevo y lo que vi sobre lo que ocurre en la ciencia en Bosnia y Herzegovina, en el Mediterráneo. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a country with a quality education system, but with a very small scientific development. One of the scientists of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Professor Dejan Milošević, said last year in the opening session of the Congress, I opening quote, "Regarding science, I can say that Bosnia and Herzegovina, due to the post-war conditions and its transitional situation, it's not very developed in science, but we are taking some steps to improve the situation." This statement might seem obvious if we think that a country like Bosnia and Herzegovina is not one of the most important countries, destinations for international students. We don't usually hear of Bosnia and Herzegovina as a strong country in science. However, if we appreciate that Professor Milošević is included among the best scientists in the world in two categories, one, the influence of scientists through his career, and also the influence in the 2020 years, according to Scopus and Elsevier, then this statement is not so obvious. In other words, if Bosnia and Herzegovina is not a strong country in science, according to one of the best scientists in the world, which is, by the way, Bosnian, then the problem of Bosnia and science is not in scientists, but in the country itself. On this behalf, we went to another breakout scientist from this country, from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Professor Azra Gazibegovic Pusulagic, to whom we made an interview that we will show later. And in the interview, she said, "Science in Bosnia and Herzegovina has been diminished. It is not present at the government level. The authorities for science are divided by regions, cantons, entities, and only then it arrives to the government. It would be a huge talk and we would move to a different topic if we were about to explain how the political situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is as a country. But I lived there 2 years and I had some experiences that made me understand where this incoherence between having the best scientists in the world and being a country very poor in science is. I went to Sarajevo to study my master's in theoretical physics, and there I had the honor of being taught by these both professors, by Professor Dejan Milošević and by Professor Azra Gazibegovic Pusulagic. I did my master thesis with Professor Dejan Milošević, and we also published an article on the mathematical theory of light matter interaction. And I would, of course, like to thank them, the good trade they always gave to me and the very good teaching they did also always in me, because they made the effort of teaching me in English, because in the time I didn't know how to speak Bosnians. I remember in the university, there was a very, very good atmosphere. Professors and students chose together the timetable, went to the exams. We even had sometimes lunch together. There was a very big friendship that helped the knowledge better. But among the students, there was some depression that I can understand. And it came from the question, okay, university is very nice. We're being taught very well. But after university, what? And it was the reality of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Even though we were taught very, very well how to work as scientists, the country did not give the opportunity for scientists to work. There were no new open positions at the university, and there was no research institution, private or public, where we could work. I talked with Azra about this topic. She explained to me that in the past, before the war, there was a very important company called Energoinvest, whose buildings were bombed. I got very interested about this thing, Energoinvest, and I started making my research. Energoinvest was an engineering company that had more than 40,000 employees in Yugoslavia. It was a company that gave scholarships to more than hundreds of students, and it was a company that exported their technology to more than 20 countries in the past. However, now the situation seems very difficult, very, very different. If we go to the internet and find the situation today, according to the Bosnian Wikipedia, there are only 400 employees. And according to the English Wikipedia, there are only 300 employees. The funny thing is that both articles in Wikipedia make the same reference to a publication by the same Energoinvest, in which I couldn't find this information. However, if we make some thoughts, in 2013, the population of Bosnia and Herzegovina was 200,000 inhabitants. But if we consider that 30% of the population of Bosnia and Herzegovina lives outside the country, then that means that in Sarajevo, there are only 80,000 people. If Energoinvest in the past had 40,000 employees, that would mean that now it had 0.5% of the population of Sarajevo, which is obviously not true. Therefore, Energoinvest is not a strong company nowadays, or is not as strong as it was before, even though it is active again. But anyway, one way or another, from all the country, what we know is that there's only one somehow a strong company that can make research. Therefore, and it works in a very, very narrow sector of science, a very, very narrow sector of engineering. So because of this, the opportunities for young scientists to keep on developing in science is almost zero in Bosnia and Herzegovina. But interesting contradiction is that topics that are in the state of the art of technology nowadays, like laser matter interaction or new materials, are being researched in the theory in the universities in Sarajevo. So the question of why science in Bosnia and Herzegovina is in a very bad situation, having the country some of the best scientists in the world, seems clear. There are no scientific institutions in the country. So a solution would be to open the first research institute in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We need a research institute in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but it doesn't look as a simple thing. First, there is need for a lot of money, and who is gonna pay that? If the government was about to pay it, that's something they would have done before. So that means that the financement of this institution has to be or from some help external to Bosnia or from the private financement. However, if we want to create this institution from our own, how can we make money from science if we cannot sell the knowledge? This is a question that is opened and that I will put on the table now. How can we use science to make money so that we can use only science to keep on doing science without an external financement that is unlikely to happen to create this institution of research in Bosnia and Herzegovina? This was my presentation. I hope the ideas were clear, and I opened the debate on this topic, which is very related to the main topics discussed in the room. Thank you very much, gracias a todos, y como he dicho, doy el turno otra vez para discutir sobre este tema que hemos mencionado, que es el tema de por qué no existe todavía una institución de investigación científica en Bosnia y Herzegovina, cuando Bosnia y Herzegovina es un país que tiene a los mejores, aparte de los mejores investigadores en física de todo el mundo. Con eso termino mi charla. Muchísimas gracias por la escucha y abrimos un turno de debate para quien quiera intervenir.